Chosen one. Listen carefully. The shaking you feel is not chaos, it is a divine signal. Heaven is moving the ground beneath you, not to bury you, but to build you. You have been praying for change. But change rarely arrives wrapped in comfort. It comes as a trembling, a holy interruption that rearranges your world so destiny can unfold. There was once a man called Elias, a chosen one, like you. He had planned his life with precision, thinking he knew where God would bless him. But one season, everything started collapsing. His business failed, his friends disappeared, and silence filled his nights. He thought he had lost everything, until he realized something deeper. The shaking had not come to destroy him, but to deliver him from foundations that could no longer hold his purpose. Through that shaking, he discovered strength he didn't know existed. That same kind of shaking has come for you, not as judgment, but as promotion. You are not falling apart. You are being set apart. Every door that slammed shut, every plan that broke unexpectedly, is part of heaven's architecture. The blueprint of your future required a reset. It feels heavy because transformation always costs something. Think of an earthquake breaking the surface before new structures rise. Think of a seed that must crack before life bursts through. The noise and confusion are temporary. What is being built will last forever. The Word of God declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 18, verse 2, "The Lord is my rock, my fortress and my deliverer. My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold." That verse is your anchor. When everything else trembles, remember who your foundation is. You are standing on the rock that does not move. Let the shaking remind you that the true fortress has never been your career, your relationships, or your strength. It has always been Him. Chosen one. This season may feel like the sky has split, but in truth, heaven is closer than ever. The shaking is what removes the ceiling between you and the divine. You are being lifted, not lost. The tremor is the sound of chains breaking, illusions falling, pride dissolving. The ground moves because heaven is making room for your next level. I see you standing in that space of confusion, half afraid, half curious. You keep asking, "God, why now?" But maybe the real question is, "God, what are you building?" Because every holy shaking carries construction, not destruction. You are stepping into a blueprint written long before your birth. Imagine a clay vessel spinning on the potter's wheel. The spinning feels dizzying, but every rotation shapes the design. The potter's hands never leave the clay, even when it shakes. That's you right now being formed, not forgotten. The world might see disaster, but heaven see design. The cracks are not your failure, they are the light finding its way through. Even when you tremble, grace steadies the process. You may not understand this season fully, but soon you'll thank God for not letting you stay where it was safe, because safety can be a cage, and God loves you too much to leave you imprisoned by comfort. So, He shakes the ground beneath what's false until you realize that your unshakable truth is Him alone. If you could see what's waiting beyond this moment, fear would dissolve instantly. There's a version of you already standing on the other side, stronger, clearer, crowned. You just need to hold on through the trembling long enough to meet that version. Don't resist the shaking. Respond with trust. You are being prepared to carry what ordinary hearts cannot. You are being strengthened for assignments that require endurance. You are being purified until your faith becomes fireproof. So breathe deeply. Stand tall even when the ground moves. Every tremor is heaven whispering, "I am with you." End 1. When this message resonates with your spirit, do one simple act of faith like share and subscribe so the word spreads further. And in the comments, type this number as your sign of trust in the process, 111, because you are not losing anything essential. You are being realigned. The shaking is your signal. Elevation is already in motion. You will soon see that every broken piece was a step toward your becoming. What felt like an ending was actually the whisper of a divine beginning calling your name. Rise without hesitation. The storm was never meant to drown you. It was meant to reveal that you could walk on waves, while others only feared the wind. Chosen one. When foundations tremble, the first instinct is to panic. You look around and see everything you trusted: relationships, routines. Plans begin to quake. It feels like the ground is betraying you. Yet, in this divine shaking, the hand of heaven is not against you, it is beneath you, rebuilding what cannot fall again. There comes a sacred moment when God no longer allows you to stand on weak ground. You may have built carefully, with love, effort, and vision. But if the foundation wasn't aligned with His will, He will shake it until it gives way, not because He delights in loss, but because He refuses to let you live beneath your destiny. In the story of Miriam, a woman whose heart was full of faith but chained by fear, the shaking came suddenly. She lost her position in a ministry she thought defined her worth. Friends grew distant. Nights grew long. She cried, "Lord, what did I do wrong?" But as she prayed, a quiet truth rose in her spirit. "I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting you from smallness." In that revelation, she stopped mourning what was gone and began thanking God for what was being built. That's what this season is for you, a divine renovation. The scaffolding is shaking. The dust is rising. But the builder is still at work. You cannot see the full picture yet, but He can. The collapse is not random. It is the blueprint rearranging itself around your new level of faith. Every time you feel the ground shift, remember that your story was written to stand. The shaking doesn't disqualify you, it authenticates you. It means you are standing in a space too powerful for weak foundations. Heaven never leaves pillars untested before they carry glory. As revealed in the book of Isaiah, chapter 28, verse 16. See, I lay a stone in Zion, a tested stone, a precious cornerstone, for a sure foundation. The one who relies on it will never be stricken with panic. You are that stone in His hand, tested, refined, made strong. When others tremble, you will endure, because while everything around you is being tested, what's within you is being trusted. God does not allow His chosen to build on untested ground. Think of the shaking like thunder before the rain. It's loud, unsettling, and impossible to ignore, but it's a prelude to refreshing. The air must break before the blessing descends. So when you feel that spiritual thunder rolling through your life, know that it's preparing the atmosphere for new growth. There is an art to trusting what you can't yet see. Like an architect watching old walls crumble to make room for expansion, you must believe the demolition has purpose. What God is removing is not punishment, it's pruning. What he's shaking is what can't survive the next season. Sometimes we try to glue broken pieces back together when heaven intends to create something completely new. You cannot resurrect what God is releasing. Let it fall. Let it go. The shaking is not meant to embarrass you, but to emancipate you from everything too fragile for your future. Remember this: when foundations tremble, faith must speak louder than fear. You are being trained to trust without evidence, to stand while everything else bends. You are learning that real stability is not found in circumstances, but in surrender, in your life's blueprint. Every quake has meaning. That argument that exposed truth, that friendship that ended abruptly, that opportunity that vanished overnight. These were not coincidences. They were holy shifts meant to lead you closer to your real alignment. You may not see it yet, but what's being built from the dust of what fell will astonish you. There will come a day when you look back and say, if that hadn't shaken, I would still be small. The very ground that frightened you will become the testimony that strengthens others. So, when the next tremor comes, don't run. Pause. Breathe. Listen for heaven's rhythm in the shaking. You'll find that even earthquakes have a divine tempo. Each vibration is heaven's reminder, I am still in control. Oh, and when you learn to dance to that rhythm instead of resisting it, peace will find you. The shaking won't terrify you anymore. It will signal transformation. You'll no longer ask, why is this happening? But rather, what is God revealing through this? Chosen one. Foundations that tremble often reveal hearts that endure. You are not falling apart. You are falling into divine order. And soon you'll see that the dust settling around you is not ruin, it's revelation. What was once uncertain will stand clear, proving that every quake carried divine precision and purpose. Chosen one. The shaking you feel is not chaos, it's the vibration of promotion. Heaven is shifting your coordinates, aligning your destiny with divine timing. You may think the noise means danger, but in truth, it's heaven's construction sound. You are being lifted from obscurity into sight. The pressure is proof that the promise is near. You've been in a long season of silence, wondering if your prayers are echoing into emptiness. Yet, in the unseen, God has been stirring the soil beneath your feet. Every delay, every closed door, every restless night, they were tremors announcing that something was about to break open. Heaven shakes before it reveals. Always. There's a man named Caleb, another chosen one like you. For years he labored faithfully, serving quietly, unnoticed. Then the shaking came. Projects failed. His name was forgotten. But through that storm, God whispered, I'm not removing you, I'm refining you. And just when he thought the ground would swallow him, the shaking stopped. He looked around, and everything that remained was stronger, cleaner, more purposeful. He hadn't lost anything that mattered. He had gained what would last. That's what is happening to you. Heaven is shaking, not to scare you, but to separate the gold from the gravel. Every system, every tie, every comfort not rooted in truth must loosen its grip. The shaking reveals what's genuine. As written in the book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 5, the mountains quake before him and the hills melt away. The earth trembles at his presence, the world and all who live in it. No, the mountains in your life are trembling because his presence is drawing near. You prayed for his glory, and glory always arrives. shaking what's false. You ask for more of him. This is how more begins. Sometimes heaven shakes your surroundings because you've built something too small for the magnitude of your calling. Like a bird that outgrows its nest, you are feeling the push to fly. The wind that once frightened you will soon be the same wind that lifts you. Think of an orchestra tuning before the performance, the chaotic hums and notes clashing together. It sounds like confusion, but it's actually alignment. That's what you're hearing in your life right now. Heaven tuning your circumstances to the right frequency for purpose. The shaking comes to make you steady. You will soon realize that what trembled around you could not touch what God placed within you. Your spirit is anchored in eternal ground, and that is why you are still standing. Chosen one. Don't rush the process. The quake will end when the foundation is ready. This moment is teaching you endurance, teaching you how to trust God without visible signs. Every warrior of faith was forged in moments like this, when everything visible wavered, but their hearts stayed firm. When heaven shakes, hell panics. That's why opposition rises at the same time elevation does. The enemy senses movement, so he tries to confuse your focus. But don't be distracted. Divine trembling always precedes triumph. Your life is shifting into divine order. People may not understand it, but heaven does. You are walking into the chapter where faith becomes evidence. The quake is simply the announcement that the stage has been cleared for your arrival. Soon, when you look back, you'll see that every tremor carried purpose. You'll thank God not only for what stood firm, but also for what was removed. Because what couldn't withstand the shaking didn't belong to your destiny. Now pause, breathe, and let this truth settle in your heart. The shaking is heaven's confirmation that you are chosen for movement. Comment, the ground lives, not as mere words, but as a declaration that you understand the divine pulse beneath your life. The shaking is not your undoing. It's proof that your soil is alive, that something holy is rising from beneath your feet. You will soon stand on the very ground that once terrified you, realizing it was never your enemy, it was your escort into destiny. What quaked beneath you was simply heaven's machinery, repositioning your purpose for greater reach. The shaking taught you to hold peace while everything else moved. That stillness you've learned is your new strength. It's what sets you apart, faith that doesn't depend on circumstances. Trust that breathes even when the air feels thin. From this moment forward, you'll notice that what once broke your confidence now builds it. Every tremor has refined your discernment, teaching you which voices carry truth and which crumble when tested by divine weight. When the dust settles, clarity will stand tall. You will look back and see divine fingerprints on every fracture, and then you'll whisper with full conviction, the shaking was mercy in disguise. I, chosen one. There comes a sacred season when heaven begins to break everything that cannot stay. It is not cruelty, it is cleansing. The shaking you feel has reached a deeper layer. Now, it is no longer about your surroundings, it is about your structure. God is touching the parts of you that have silently resisted his plan. You may feel pieces of your identity crumbling, roles you once found pride in, opinions that shaped how you saw yourself, dreams that once defined you. But hear this, what is falling away is not who you are, it is who you outgrew. Heaven never strips without purpose. Every removal is a revelation. When you first said, "Use me, Lord," you may not have realized what that prayer requires: to be used by heaven. You must first be emptied of everything that competes with heaven's voice. That is why familiar things are breaking so that sacred things can breathe. There was once a woman named Leora. She loved God deeply, but her heart was tied to comfort. When God began to elevate her, the shaking started. She lost her position in a ministry she had served for years. The friendships she depended on began to fade. At first, she cried, thinking she was being punished. But in time, she understood God was separating her from approval, so he could teach her authority. And when the shaking stopped, she stood freer than she had ever been. That's what heaven is doing for you now. Every counterfeit peace, every hidden compromise, every chain disguised as safety, God is breaking it. You prayed for transformation. But, transformation requiert démolition. You cannot carry divine glory in a structure built on fear or pride. As recorded in the book of Hosea, chapter 6, verse 1, Come, let us return to the Lord. He has torn us to pieces, but he will heal us. He has injured us, but he will bind up our wounds. Oh no, there is no cruelty in his correction. Only compassion. The tearing is temporary, the healing is eternal. He breaks only what hides your true form. The same hands that shake you are the hands that will steady you when the rebuilding begins. Chosen one. When God begins to remove certain people or opportunities, don't chase after them. If he allows them to leave, it's because their assignment in your life is complete. Heaven's timing is precise. Sometimes love must let go so purpose can enter. You might look around and see ashes, but in the spiritual realm, foundations are being poured. This breaking season is heaven's excavation, a deep digging into your heart to make room for new construction. Old motives, wounded patterns, unspoken fears, they are being unearthed so that the new you can emerge without cracks. Picture a sculptor chiseling marble. Each strike looks violent to the untrained eye, yet every cut reveals beauty hidden inside. That's what the shaking is doing. It's carving away the excess, the unnecessary, the false. You are being refined into the shape of your calling. Do not mistake subtraction for loss. Heaven subtracts only what weakens your strength. Every no you hear in this season is protecting you from something too small for your destiny. The door that closes with pain today will one day be remembered with gratitude. There is also a silence that follows every breaking, a quiet so heavy that it feels like absence. But it is not absence, it is alignment. The silence is where your roots go deeper, drawing life from unseen waters. Do not despise that stillness. It is the proof that the rebuilding has begun. You may be tempted to rebuild quickly, to replace what's been removed with something new. But wait, let God finish his work. The next structure must be built on obedience, not on urgency. What is rushed often repeats the mistakes of what was broken. Chosen one. This season of breaking is your hidden blessing. The fire that surrounds you now is refining fire. It is burning away what was never meant to define you. When it's done, you will rise lighter, cleaner, and clearer, free from the weight of what could not last. You are not being punished, you are being purified. Heaven loves you too much to let you remain in foundations that wobble under the weight of your calling. So when the next layer cracks, lift your eyes. The builder is near. In a little while, the dust will settle, and what remains will not need constant fixing. It will stand steady because it was shaped by the shaking and sealed by grace. And when you look back, you'll realize the breaking was never loss. It was the sacred sound of heaven saying, "Only what is true may remain." Chosen one. After the breaking comes the silence, the sacred pause between what was and what will be. You may feel as though heaven has gone quiet. But silence is not absence, it is preparation. It is in this stillness that God begins to whisper the blueprints of your next chapter. You have walked through the trembling, the tearing, and the turning. Now, heaven says, "Rest. I am still working." The potter does not speak while reshaping clay. The artist does not explain every brushstroke. What feels like stillness is actually divine focus. There was a man named Jonas who once stood in this same quiet. Everything he had trusted was gone. Yet, within the stillness, he began to sense something holy, growing inside him, a new dream. Gentler, but stronger. When he tried to move before the time, everything resisted. But when he learned to wait, peace returned. Later, he realized the waiting had not wasted him, it had widened him. This is where you are. 2. Between the last quake and the first sunrise, between the shaking and the showing, and though the silence feels strange, it is sacred. Heaven is building in secret what will soon shine in public. As recorded in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 5, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding." No, trust means resting your weight on what you cannot see. Trust is faith's quiet form. The silence between shakes is where trust grows roots. You may feel like a seed buried under the soil. Everything above you looks alive and moving, while you feel hidden and unseen. But under the surface, something powerful is happening. You are being expanded, strengthened, and prepared for sprouting. The darkness around you is not punishment, it's protection. Seeds don't die in the soil, they are reborn there. Chosen one. This quiet moment is not empty, it is full of invisible miracles. Heaven often works like dawn, slowly, softly, almost unnoticed, until suddenly the whole sky is bright. That's how your restoration will come. Gradual, then glorious. In this pause, your soul is being recalibrated. The noise that used to control your attention has been silenced so that you can finally hear your Creator clearly. The potter is pressing his fingerprints into your future, and that process requires stillness. So let yourself breathe. Let yourself heal. You've endured the earthquake. Now it's time to feel the calm after the storm. And as you rest, remember this: even God's silence carries messages. Every quiet moment says, "I am still here. I am still working for your good." And now, I want to speak to your heart gently. If this message has reached you deeply, if you felt peace returning as you listened, know that you are part of something living. These words, this flow of faith, reach souls across the world, because hearts like yours keep them alive. When you like, share, or subscribe, it's like lighting a lantern in a long corridor. Every small flame helps another wanderer find their way through the dark. It isn't obligation, it's participation. You're not just supporting a voice, you're helping build a sanctuary of light in the middle of the noise. And if your spirit ever feels stirred to give, donate like a gardener watering a seed that once gave you shade. See it not as payment, but as planting. Every drop nurtures hope. Every act of giving helps another soul find stillness. This isn't a demand. It's an invitation to co-create light. You are free always to simply receive. But if your heart ever whispers, "I want to keep this light shining," follow that whisper. Because even a small seed can grow into a forest when it's planted in faith. The journey continues because of hearts like yours, listeners. Believers, silent supporters who carry faith forward in unseen ways, whether through words, prayer, or generosity. You are part of the unfolding of this divine movement. Chosen one. As you walk through the stillness, remember, peace is not the absence of movement, it's the awareness of divine presence. You are standing in the eye of transformation. Calm, yet powerful. Soon, what has been forming in silence will begin to bloom in clarity. Stay steady. Keep your spirit open. Keep your faith gentle but firm. Heaven moves quietly, but always with purpose. And if this space has reminded you that your shaking had meaning, share this light so another heart can remember. 2. Whisper gratitude. Breathe peace. And water what has watered you. The shaking prepared you. The silence is shaping you. And the next sound you hear will not be trembling. It will be the soft sound of your elevation, beginning. Chosen one. Can you feel it? Something inside you is shifting again. Not around you this time, but within. The rhythm of your spirit is changing. Heaven is recalibrating your frequency. You no longer desire what you once chased. The things that used to excite you now feel too small. This is not confusion. This is growth. When God begins to elevate you internally, He first changes your appetite. He lets certain things lose their flavor so that your heart will hunger for higher truth. What once filled you now leaves you empty because it no longer matches your purpose. You are being tuned for a new dimension of clarity. As written in the letter of James, chapter 1, verse 4, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. That is exactly what is happening inside you. Perseverance is finishing its work. You are being refined, matured, and completed. Heaven is not in a hurry with you. Heaven is being precise. There was a young woman named Sarah. For years, she prayed for elevation, more wisdom, more peace, more discernment. But when God started answering, it didn't look like she expected. Old friendships grew distant. Certain ambitions suddenly felt meaningless. Even her prayers changed. At first, she thought something was wrong. But soon she realized that heaven had changed her hunger. God was not withholding, He was upgrading. You are going through that same transformation. The shaking outside has settled, but the recalibration inside continues. It's like a musician tuning a violin. The strings must stretch to reach the right sound. That stretching hurts. But when it's done, your spirit will carry heaven's melody with precision. You might find yourself in conversations where you no longer fit. You'll feel drawn to silence more than noise, to prayer more than opinions. That's because your spirit has graduated. You have entered a quieter, deeper classroom. Heaven is teaching you how to carry peace without needing validation. This new season is not about doing more, it's about becoming more. God is not asking you to perform, He's inviting you to transform. You are being reintroduced to yourself, the version that walks in stillness, speaks with wisdom, and lives without apology. Think of an eagle preparing to soar higher. It flies to the mountains, waits for the old feathers to fall off, and lets new ones grow. During that molting season, it cannot fly as high. But when renewal is complete, it soars higher than before. That's where you are shedding old feathers, so new strength can carry you. Heaven is not calling you back to what you lost, but forward to what is ready. What feels like loneliness is often God isolating you to install new vision. You're not being left behind, you're being lifted out of distractions. In this recalibration, you may also feel God highlighting new desires, ones that serve, build, and heal. Pay attention to those gentle nudges. They're the blueprint of your next mission. Your heart is being tuned to heaven's frequency so that when the next instruction comes, you'll recognize it immediately. The world may not understand this version of you. That's okay. The noise of misunderstanding cannot drown the clarity of obedience. Heaven has chosen you as an instrument that carries sound beyond human comprehension. Chosen one. This inner shift is holy. Every moment of stillness, every sigh, every tear, it all speaks the language of surrender. You are learning to trust what you can't define. You are learning to feel peace even in mystery. Don't rush the process. The new you needs time to find rhythm with heaven's heartbeat. Just as a seed must adjust to the soil before breaking through, your spirit must settle before it blossoms. This recalibration will change everything about how you move. You'll start noticing divine timing more clearly, doors opening when your spirit aligns, not when you push. You'll feel less need to control and more ability to flow. That's when you'll realize maturity is not knowing more, it's trusting deeper. And in that trust, peace will settle like dew on your soul, soft, gentle, undeniable. If these words echo inside you, mark this moment. It means your spirit has heard heaven's frequency. Comment 888, a prophetic sign of new alignment and fresh beginnings. It's not about numbers, it's about agreement. When you type it, you're saying, "Yes, Lord, recalibrate me until I'm fully yours." Oh, chosen one. You are not who you were at the start of this shaking. You are steadier now, quieter, wiser. The tremors inside you are not signs of fear, they are evidence of transformation. Heaven is fine-tuning your spirit. And soon the world will hear a clearer, purer sound through you. Stay open, stay still. The recalibration is almost complete. Chosen one. The fire you feel around you now is not here to destroy it. It is here to refine. You are walking through a furnace designed not for punishment, but for purification. Every flame that rises is burning away the residue of past seasons, revealing the strength that always lived beneath your scars. When God calls a person higher, He does not simply lift them, He purifies them. The anointing you carry must be clean, tested, and proven in the fire. The greater the oil, the hotter the flame. You are not burning, you are being baptized in brilliance. As spoken in the book of Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 9, "I will put this third into the fire. I will refine them as silver is refined, and test them as gold is tested. They will call on my name, and I will answer them." Those words echo through your life right now. You are that precious metal in the refiner's hand. The heat has been increased, not because you failed, but because you are ready to be shaped into something heaven can trust. When metal meets flame, impurity surface. They rise and are removed until only pure strength remains. That is what these trials are doing for you. The disappointments, the delays, the misunderstandings, they are surfacing what doesn't belong, so the real you can shine without distortion. There was a man named Elior who once faced this same furnace. He had prayed for God's power, but when the fire came, it burned his pride first. He lost opportunities he thought were secure, friends he believed would stay, and comfort he thought he deserved. For a time, he felt abandoned, yet in that very season, he discovered a deeper voice within him, a peace that didn't depend on circumstances. When the fire ended, he no longer needed validation. His faith had been refined into something indestructible. Chosen one. Your fire season is sacred. The flames are not your enemy, they are your escort into purity. Every spark that lands on you is designed to reveal resilience. God trusts you with this temperature because He knows what you can carry when the burning ends. Sometimes you will wonder, why does it have to hurt so much? Because pain is the language of transformation. Just as a diamond cannot form without pressure, your anointing cannot deepen without discomfort. The very heat that feels unbearable is creating brilliance inside you. Think of glass being forged. It begins as rough, shapeless sand. Only when it's exposed to fire does it melt into transparency. That's what is happening to your soul. You are becoming clear. The fire is removing the fog of doubt, the stains of insecurity, the shadow of fear. When it's done, you will not only carry light, you will become light. In this process, solitude becomes sacred. Not everyone can stand near the furnace. Some will misunderstand your silence or mistake your distance for pride. But the truth is, the fire is personal. Only you and God can walk through it together. Do not be surprised if people step away. They are simply not meant to stand that close to divine heat. During these refining moments, your prayers may change. Instead of asking, "Lord, remove the fire," you'll begin whispering, "Lord, stay with me in it." That's when the transformation deepens. The miracle is not in escaping the fire, but in discovering that it doesn't consume you. Remember the story of the 3 Hebrew men in Babylon's furnace. The flames were real, the heat intense. But when the king looked closer, he saw a 4th figure standing among them. That same presence stands beside you now. The fire you're walking through is also where you'll meet God face to face. When this season concludes, your faith will not look the same. It will be steadier, quieter, wiser. You'll speak from experience, not theory from scars that have turned into authority. You'll look at others still trembling in their own fire and say, "You'll survive. I did." And that testimony will carry power no sermon could ever teach. Because refined faith glows, it draws people in without words. Your endurance becomes their evidence. Chosen one. Though the flames rise high, you are not alone. The refiner never leaves the furnace unattended. His eyes are on you, watching every spark, ensuring the temperature never exceeds what you can bear. Hold steady. Let the fire do its holy work. What will emerge from the ashes will not be fragile, it will be formidable. Soon the heat will fade, and all that will remain is radiance. You'll step out carrying oil that drips with grace and strength, and when others see you shining, they'll know you didn't just survive the fire, you were transformed by it. Chosen one. Every shaking carries a hidden purpose, and every fire reveals its afterglow. Now, You step into what heaven calls the separation season, the moment when God begins to draw a divine line between what can go with you and what must stay behind. This is not rejection, it is refinement in relationships. Heaven is rearranging your circle to protect your calling. In this season, you will notice people drifting, situations shifting, doors closing without explanation. Don't chase what's leaving. The Spirit often moves quietly, removing voices that would cloud your hearing. The hands that once helped you may no longer fit the shape of your next assignment. It's not betrayal, it's alignment. As declared in the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 3, "Do two walk together unless they have agreed to do so?" That scripture echoes in your spirit right now. Agreement is more than conversation, it's connection of purpose. Heaven will not let you walk with anyone whose spirit moves against your mission. This is why the separation hurts. It's personal, but it's also holy. There was a man named Ruel, humble yet called to lead, when God began to elevate him. His oldest companions couldn't understand the transformation. They preferred the version of him that stayed small, the one who fit comfortably into their expectations. When he started walking in obedience, their laughter turned to criticism, the friendship cracked, and the silence that followed felt unbearable. Yet, months later, Ruel realized that God had separated him to introduce new voices, mentors who spoke to his future, not his history. The pain of loss became the soil of growth. Chosen one, you will face that same tension. God will sometimes shake your social foundation to ensure your spiritual footing. Not everyone who loves you is assigned to walk your full journey. Some were meant to accompany you only to a certain gate. When you reach that gate, grace releases them. Do not resent those departures. Even Jesus experienced them. When the crowds followed, he fed them. When the 12 walked with him, he taught them. But when the moment of destiny arrived, he stood almost alone. Separation is not punishment, it's preparation for elevation. Think of a rocket before launch. As it rises, certain parts detach. They were necessary for takeoff, but cannot endure the altitude. If they stayed attached, they would cause explosion instead of ascension. That's what God is doing in your relationships, separating what cannot breathe at your new height. The truth is, love doesn't always mean lifelong proximity. Some people remain in your heart, but must leave your journey. You honor them best by releasing them gracefully. Holding on too tightly can hinder both their growth and yours. You might feel misunderstood. Those who once celebrated you might now question your silence, your decisions, or your change of focus. But stay kind. Never defend yourself from divine shifts. When God moves you, explanation becomes unnecessary. Your consistency will tell the story later. In the separation season, loneliness often disguises itself as loss. But it's not loss, it's space being cleared for what's next. The absence you feel is preparation for presence. Heaven never removes without planning a replacement. As your circle refines, your discernment sharpens. You begin to see people not through emotion but through purpose. Some will carry peace when they speak. Others will bring confusion. That's heaven teaching you how to sense alignment before attachment. Chosen one. Separation doesn't mean isolation. It means consecration. You're being set apart so your oil won't be contaminated. When too many hands touch the anointing before it's matured, the fragrance fades. God is protecting your fragrance. This process is tender. You might remember shared memories, laughter, and promises. But know this, what was genuine will never truly vanish. God preserves real love even when distance arrives. The bond may change form, but not value. Let your heart release with gratitude. Say, "Thank you for the season we shared." And thank you, Lord, for where you're leading me next. That posture keeps your spirit light. Bitterness builds walls, but gratitude builds wings. As the separation completes, peace will return. You will begin to sense new connections, forming people who speak your language of purpose, who understand silence, who celebrate depth more than performance. These are your covenant companions, sent by heaven to help you carry the next mantle. And when they arrive, you'll understand why others had to leave. Every relationship has divine timing. The old ones taught you love. The new ones will teach you legacy. Chosen one. This is a holy pruning. You are not being cut down. You are being shaped to bear greater fruit. The gardener never prunes without vision. What is removed today makes room for what will bloom tomorrow. So, walk forward quietly, carrying peace, not pain. The separation is not the end of connection, it's the beginning of clarity. Heaven is saying, you cannot walk with everyone, but you will never walk alone. Len, chosen one. Before the crown comes warfare. Every time heaven prepares to lift you, the atmosphere around you grows tense. The reason the pressure feels heavier now is because the promise is closer than ever. The closer you stand to break through, the louder the resistance becomes. This is not imagination, it's spiritual reality. You are not being attacked because you are weak. You are being targeted because you are marked. The enemy never wastes energy on the ordinary. He fights what threatens his darkness, and your light has become blinding to him. In the quiet hours, you may feel waves of discouragement. Old fears try to revisit. Doubt knocks on the same doors it once entered freely. But something is different this time. You no longer answer. You have learned that not every storm deserves your reaction. As spoken in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 4, the weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. That verse is your battle cry. You are not fighting with emotion or human logic. You are fighting with divine strategy. Every prayer you whisper is a sword. Every moment you choose, peace is an act of rebellion against darkness. There was a young warrior named Micah who once faced a similar storm. Life had been peaceful. Then suddenly, everything broke at once. His job, his health, his confidence. He prayed and felt nothing, worshipped and saw no change. But in those silent nights, heaven was watching. He didn't realize that his endurance itself was a weapon. When he refused to give up, the battle turned. The very week he almost surrendered was the week his victory began. Chosen one. That's how spiritual warfare often works. It isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes the fiercest fight is to keep believing quietly when everything tells you to stop. Every breath you take in faith is a declaration that the enemy has failed. The battle you face is not proof of abandonment, it's proof of advancement. Heaven would not allow this intensity unless something was about to be released. Pressure always precedes power. The shaking you endured in past seasons built endurance for this very moment. Imagine an arrow being pulled back. The tension feels like regression, but it's actually preparation for flight. The further it's drawn, the further it will go. That's you right now, pulled, stretched, aimed. The tension you feel is the momentum heaven is building for your next leap. Sometimes the warfare is internal. Your own thoughts try to turn against you, memories, guilt, anxiety. But remember, the battlefield of the mind is conquered not by noise, but by naming truth. Every time you say, "God is with me," the darkness loses ground. When fatigue tries to settle, whisper strength into your soul. Remind yourself that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, not because you're flawless, but because you're covered. You are hidden under divine armor. Chosen one. Your assignment carries weight. That's why opposition found you. The closer you move to the gates of destiny, the louder the alarms of darkness ring. But do not retreat. The enemy can only roar. He cannot rewrite what heaven has decreed. There's a silence that comes after every storm, a stillness filled with victory. You will soon stand there. You will not remember every battle cry. You will remember peace. And that peace will testify louder than any wound. The crown is not given to the comfortable. It's placed on those who kept walking when walking hurt. It's forged in fire and fastened with endurance. That is what you're earning now, authority that cannot be shaken. Chosen one. Lift your head. This battle will not break you. It will brand you. You are not losing ground. You're being trained to claim it. Every scar will soon tell a story that others need to hear. If your spirit feels this truth burning within you, take a moment of agreement. Comment, "The fight ends." It's more than a sentence. It's a statement of faith. It means you already believe the victory is sealed, that the struggle is finishing its holy work, and peace is on its way. Hold your position. Warrior, the battle ends in your favor. You've reached the edge of your testing, and heaven is already preparing the celebration. Every sleepless night, every silent tear, is being rewritten as strength in the records of eternity. You did not fall, you were forged. When you declared, "The fight ends," you agreed with heaven's decree. That phrase isn't escape, it's evolution. It means the struggle's purpose has been fulfilled, and peace is now your inheritance. Stand in quiet triumph. The battlefield will soon bloom with flowers where fire once burned. What tried to bury you became the soil for your victory's roots. Chosen one. The shaking you once feared now reveals its rhythm. You can finally see it. What looked like chaos was choreography. Every fall, every delay, every unexpected detour has moved you closer to alignment. The pieces you thought were scattered were actually being placed by an unseen hand. What once felt random now feels written. Heaven's strategy never looks sensible in the middle of the storm. You only understand it when you step into the calm and look back. Like a painter standing too close to his canvas, all you could once see was strokes of color: blue for sorrow, red for passion, gray for confusion. But now, as heaven draws you back, the full picture begins to emerge, and you realize none of the colors were wasted. As revealed in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. That truth holds your entire story together. Every thread of pain, every silent prayer, Every moment you thought was lost, it all belongs to a larger pattern of grace. Nothing was wasted, it was woven. There was once a man named Taran. For years, he lived frustrated, unable to see why doors kept closing. He felt forgotten, even punished. But one day, he stumbled upon a small opportunity, one that seemed insignificant. He took it, and through that path, God introduced him to people who changed his destiny. Later, he realized every closed door had simply redirected him to the right one. The detours were divine protection. Chosen one. Heaven's strategy looks backward to the impatient, but forward to the wise. God will never explain every move, because faith without mystery ceases to grow. He hides certain things, not to confuse you, but to teach you trust. Think of a tapestry. The backside is messy, threads tangled, knots everywhere. But turn it over, and you'll see beauty. That's your life right now. From your view, you see knots. From heaven's view, a masterpiece. And here's the wonder, you're part of that art. These words reaching your heart today are also part of heaven's weaving. You didn't find them by chance. You were guided here because your spirit needed confirmation. Nothing you've endured was wasted. Chosen one. You've been walking this journey faithfully. You've endured storms, stayed through silence, survived the fire, and yet you're still here. That perseverance has made you strong, but it's also made you tender. Heaven can now trust you with impact, and I want to say this gently. From a place of honor, if these messages have been watering your soul, liking, sharing, or subscribing isn't just digital action, it's a ripple of light. Each click is like a small flame added to a lantern that guides another traveler through the dark. You see, faith travels in echoes. The message that reached you today may be the one someone else needs tomorrow. When you share it, you're not promoting words, you're releasing healing. And if your heart ever feels stirred to give, think of donating as planting a seed in fertile ground, not an obligation, but an offering of gratitude. You're not paying for light, you're multiplying it. You're joining heaven's rhythm, saying, I want more hearts to heal as mine has healed. End of 2. Even the smallest contribution carries fragrance. It's like pouring a drop of oil on the altar, a silent act of worship that heaven never forgets. But please, let it always be choice, never pressure. Giving must flow like water freely, gently, willingly, because this movement, this message, isn't sustained by numbers, it's sustained by love. Every act of kindness, every shared word, every moment you choose to listen with an open heart is already a gift. Chosen one. Take a deep breath. Feel how far you've come. The strategy of heaven is not chaos, it's choreography. And you, with every act of obedience, have been part of the dance. So when the next wave of uncertainty comes, don't fear it. Step with grace. Move with faith. You already know the rhythm. The music is divine, and heaven is still leading. And when this message ends, if it has lit something inside you, let that flame spread naturally through your kindness, your voice, your generosity, or even through one small act of sharing. What flows freely multiplies beautifully. Because the shaking was never meant to break you, it was heaven's strategy to make you shine. And as you shine, others will find their way by your light. That's the quiet miracle of divine strategy. Heaven turns your survival into someone else's guidance. Nothing you've lived through was ever wasted. Chosen one. The trembling has subsided now, and the air feels different. You can almost sense it, a gentle steadiness beneath your feet. The shaking that once terrified you has given way to quiet strength. You are no longer defined by what broke. You are defined by what endured. This is the rising from the rubble. The dust is still settling, but the light has already begun to pierce through. You stand among the fragments of what used to be, realizing that even though much has fallen, you have not. Every scar, every crack, every fracture now tells a story of faith that would not collapse. The season of breaking was not for destruction, but revelation. It showed you what was built on sand and what was built on the rock. It stripped away what could not last, so that you could finally see what always would. And now, as you rise, you do not rise empty. You rise carrying lessons, wisdom, and a peace that cannot be purchased. As spoken in the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 3, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. That promise now rests upon you. The ashes of your pain have become the soil of your beauty. Every tear you shed has watered the ground beneath you. And now, shoots of new life are beginning to emerge. You are walking out of the ruins with treasures you didn't have before. The world might see rubble, but heaven sees the foundations of a temple. You have become that temple, stronger, holier, wiser. What was once a battlefield has turned into sacred ground. There was a woman named Adira who lived through her own ruin. She lost everything she thought. She needed her position, her friends, even her sense of direction. For months, she wandered through what felt like smoke and silence. Yet, in that desolation, she found something precious, her voice. She began to speak to her soul again, softly at first, then boldly. When the dust cleared, she realized that what she had lost were merely walls that hid the treasure within her. She had not been emptied, she had been uncovered. Chosen one, you are in that same unveiling. What fell away were only disguises. Your true strength was hidden under layers of survival, and the shaking removed them. You are now walking lighter, without the weight of false expectations, without the armor of fear. You are not who you were before the quake. And that is the victory. When you look back, you may still see broken pieces scattered around you. Don't rush to gather them. Some pieces belong to the past and cannot fit into your new structure. Let the old stay old. The beauty of resurrection lies in its difference. Nothing resurrected looks like it did before. Imagine a city after a great storm, windows shattered, streets covered in dust. Then imagine the first morning when the sun returns, washing the ruins in gold. That's your life now. The same places where you once wept will soon shine. You will begin to notice new strength in your silence, new wisdom in your words, new clarity in your choices. The rubble beneath your feet no longer feels like failure, it feels like foundation. The storm didn't destroy you, it defined you. This stage is gentle but powerful. It's the moment after war when a soldier finally lowers his weapon and breathes. You don't need to fight anymore. You can rest, rebuild, and rejoice in what remains. And here's a quiet truth. The very cracks in your foundation are where light enters. Your brokenness has become your brilliance. People will see you and sense peace without knowing why. That's because peace is not something you found, it's something that found you through endurance. Chosen one. Heaven is proud of you. You passed the tests that once terrified you. You trusted through trembling, and now, stability feels sacred. You are learning to walk again, not as a survivor, but as a steward of strength. Every rebuilt life needs time to settle. Let this be your settling. Let the quiet become holy. Let gratitude replace grief. There's no need to explain how you made it. Your presence is proof. As you stand among the ruins, notice the horizon. The light is brighter there. The path ahead no longer feels uncertain. It feels ordained. You will rebuild, not out of fear, but out of faith. And what you build now will carry eternity's weight. You've risen, not to return to what was, but to reveal what will be. You are the living evidence that even rubble can resurrect. Chosen one. The shaking has expanded your borders. The very ground that once felt too narrow now feels like open territory. What you thought would end you has actually equipped you. You're standing in new land now, not physical land, but spiritual territory. The horizon has widened because your faith has grown wide enough to hold it. You've crossed through fire, silence, and separation. And now the air carries a different sound. It's the quiet hum of new authority settling on your shoulders. You've been trained in hidden places, and heaven is about to make your strength visible. Every lesson you learned in pain has become a tool for purpose. Every delay has turned into direction. The things that once confused you now form a clear map in your heart. You understand? Finally, that elevation was never about escaping hardship. It was about being shaped through it. As written in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." And that command is the key to this new season. You are not stepping into comfort, you are stepping into calling. And calling always requires courage. There was a young man named Aitan who once stood where you now stand. He had prayed for influence, for opportunity, for doors to open. But when the doors opened, fear whispered, "You're not ready." He almost turned back. Yet deep down, something greater than fear spoke a still, steady conviction. "I am with you." When he took one step forward, the atmosphere shifted. His obedience became the password for heaven's power. That's where you are now. Chosen one. God has placed you on the threshold of new assignments. The same ground that shook beneath you has now become a launching pad. You are being trusted with platforms you once only dreamed of. Not because you are perfect, but because you persevered. Still, with new territory comes new tests. When God expands your influence, He also expands your capacity to love, to forgive, to stand firm. This land is not just for you, it's for those who will follow your footsteps. You are being positioned as a signpost of faith, guiding others toward courage. Think of it this way: a tree that has survived storms grows roots strong enough to shelter other seeds. That's you. Now your endurance has become refuge for others. Your story will not just inspire, it will anchor those still trembling. But take heed. Chosen one. The expansion is sacred ground. Walk carefully. Pride must stay behind. You are not entering this new space to prove yourself, you are entering to serve. Heaven doesn't elevate for applause, it elevates for assignment. You might feel a mix of excitement and fear right now. That's natural. Every great calling hums with both. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's faith in motion. Take that trembling step, it's enough. God meets movement. In this territory, you'll notice divine connections forming new people, new ideas, new opportunities. These are not coincidences, they're coordinates. Heaven is aligning resources around your obedience. And though the land is new, the principle remains the same. Stay anchored in humility. The same God who brought you here will sustain you here. When you feel unqualified, remember, He never asked for perfection, only willingness. This season will demand focus. There will be noise, distractions, even admiration. Don't chase applause, chase alignment. The power of this territory lies not in being seen, but in being steady. You're stepping into rooms that your past could never have imagined. Speak softly, walk wisely, and let your integrity do the talking. Every action is a message, every word a seed. Sow carefully. Chosen one, this is your inheritance. The shaking made space, the obedience filled it. The ground beneath your feet is holy because it was bought with surrender. If these words echo in your spirit, if you can feel that new territory calling your name, comment 444. That number represents divine establishment, the setting of foundations that will not crumble. When you write it, let it mean, Lord, establish my steps in this new land. Because this territory is not temporary, it's testament. Every inch of it testifies to grace, endurance, and divine strategy. And as you stand in it, know this, you didn't arrive by luck. You arrived by promise. The shaking was your entrance exam. The obedience was your qualification. And now, heaven says, walk boldly. The land is yours. Chosen one. There's a new sound moving through your spirit. Now, a deep, resonant pulse that feels both familiar and brand new. It's the sound of breakthrough. You've heard echoes of it before, faint and distant, but now it's close enough to touch. The shaking has settled, the fire has purified, and the silence has taught you to listen. Now heaven speaks again, not in thunder, but in rhythm. Breakthrough rarely begins with noise, it begins with alignment. It's that subtle moment when everything in you finally agrees with everything in Him. The resistance that once pressed against you suddenly feels weightless. The doors that refuse to move begin to creak open, not because you pushed harder, but because timing has finally caught up with destiny. As written in the book of Psalms, chapter 30, verse 5, weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. 1. Morning has come for you, not because the clock changed, but because your heart did. The grief that once clung to your nights is losing its grip. You've learned that joy is not an emotion, it's evidence of faith that survived the dark. Breakthroughs don't always look like miracles falling from the sky. Often, they look like courage returning to your chest. The ability to smile again, to breathe without panic, to hope without hesitation, that's breakthrough. Heaven's light enters quietly, but once it does, it doesn't leave. There was once a woman named Reva who prayed for years to see change. Her life seemed like one long delay, until one evening, something shifted inside her. She stopped begging for answers, and began thanking God for presence. That night, nothing external changed. Yet everything internal did. The next morning, she woke with peace so steady that even disappointment couldn't shake it. Days later, the doors she had prayed for opened, but by then, she had already found what she was really waiting for: contentment in the Creator, not just His gifts. That's what breakthrough really is: the moment you stop chasing outcomes and start carrying peace. It's not something you earn, it's something you become. Chosen one. You are standing in that sacred in-between, between waiting and receiving, between hoping and seeing. This is the point where faith turns into sight. But don't rush to define it. Sometimes, breakthrough isn't one event. It's 1,000 small miracles happening quietly in your favor. Listen closely. You'll start to notice them. Conversations that confirm your direction. Opportunities that align effortlessly. A sudden calm in the middle of what used to cause panic. These are heaven's subtle announcements that you've crossed into new air. It's like the moment before dawn. The sky still looks dark, but light is already breaking just beyond what you can see. That's where you are now, standing in the threshold between promise and manifestation. Breakthroughs carry responsibility. 2. When God entrusts you with answered prayers, He expects stewardship. The peace you carry is meant to be multiplied. You've been through too much to keep the light only for yourself. Every victory you've lived becomes a torch for someone else still walking through night. And understand this: breakthrough does not erase battle scars, it redeems them. You will still remember the shaking, but now it will sound like testimony instead of trauma. You'll still see the fire's glow in your memory, but it will remind you of refinement, not ruin. Chosen one. Your journey has turned full circle. The same voice that called you into the storm now calls you into peace. The same hands that allowed breaking now bless rebuilding. You can finally breathe without fear of collapse. Take a moment and feel this truth settle. You made it. Every trial, every tear, every unanswered prayer, all of it has converged into this stillness. It's not pride to acknowledge victory, it's gratitude. You didn't survive by chance, you were sustained by grace. The sound of breakthrough is not loud. It's the gentle hum of alignment between your heart and heaven's heart. It's the sigh after endurance, the silence that follows surrender. You are no longer chasing the light, you are carrying it. You are the sound of answered prayer, the living melody of divine fulfillment. And soon, those around you will sense it too. They won't know what changed, but they'll feel peace when you enter the room. That's how heaven marks its own. Chosen one. The night is truly over. The sound you hear is not just your heartbeat, it's heaven clapping quietly in rhythm with your resilience. Breakthrough has begun, and it is beautiful. Chosen one. The air around you feels different now. The heaviness that once pressed on your shoulders has lifted, replaced by a quiet strength that seems to hum beneath your skin. This is not the same person who entered the fire or trembled under shaking. You have emerged, refined, recalibrated, and radiant. What you carry now is not survival, it's standard. You have become a living testimony of transformation. In this season, heaven is not only restoring you, it is reintroducing you. You are no longer defined by the pain that shaped you, but by the power that sustained you. The world will see you and sense something beyond explanation, a depth that cannot be taught, only lived. You are shifting from being a survivor to being a standard bearer. A visible example of what divine endurance looks like, as written in the book of Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. That promise is alive in you. The work that began in pain is now moving into purpose. The story that once felt unfinished is becoming a masterpiece. There was a man named Aziel who once walked through a long wilderness of silence. For years, he wondered why his calling seemed delayed. But over time, the waiting sculpted him. When the moment finally came for his voice to be heard, it carried weight not because of eloquence, but because of experience. His words healed others because they had first healed him. That's what happens when endurance meets revelation. Chosen one. Your endurance has given your words authority. You are now stepping into a phase where even your presence brings calm. Your silence carries wisdom, and your scars tell stories without speaking. Heaven did not just deliver you, it anointed you. What once wounded you has now become your weapon. Think of how gold reflects light differently. Once it's been through fire, it shines warmer, deeper, and stronger. That's how your spirit gleams now. The radiance you carry is not decoration, it's revelation. It announces that you've walked through storms and still chosen peace. This new identity is not something you have to prove. You simply are. The power you hold is quiet, the kind that doesn't shout but shifts the atmosphere. You no longer need to explain your process. Those who carry discernment will feel it when you enter a room. You have become a carrier of divine credibility. But with this mantle comes responsibility. To be a standard bearer means to walk differently, to choose grace over pride, mercy over judgment, integrity over convenience. People will look to you not just for words, but for consistency. Your endurance has made you visible. Your humility will keep you trusted. This is the time to walk slowly, to think deeply, to love intentionally. The world celebrates speed, but heaven honors steadiness. You are not in a race, you are in a revelation. Every step you take now writes guidance for someone behind you. There will be moments when old fears try to whisper again, reminding you of who you used to be. Do not answer them. You are no longer that version. The transformation was not temporary, it was total. The things that once controlled you now serve you. The same weakness that once broke you now fuels your empathy. Chosen one. Becoming a standard bearer means you no longer walk for applause. You walk as evidence. You are living proof that grace outlasts pain, that storms create strength, and that surrender births glory. Heaven uses your life as a mirror to show others what restoration looks like. Even your quiet moments have purpose now. When you rest, it's not retreat, it's replenishment. When you speak, it's not noise, it's nourishment. When you move, it's not wandering, it's divine choreography. You are not meant to blend in anymore. Light cannot hide among shadows. You are meant to stand not above others, but before them as a symbol of what's possible when faith endures. You have become a visible prophecy, walking proof that shaking leads to shining. So let the world see the glory, but never forget the grace that brought it. Let your humility remain your crown, your compassion, your scepter. You are a ruler not of people, but of peace, a keeper of balance between strength and softness. Chosen one. You have moved from survival to significance. The shaking was your refining. The fire, your proving. The silence, your schooling. Now, your life is a standard, a living example that even ashes can glow when grace breathes on them. Chosen one. You've reached the place where glory begins to show through the cracks, the long shaking, the heavy silence. The relentless refining, all of it has led to this unveiling. You stand now in the light that once seemed unreachable. What felt like ashes beneath your feet have turned into the foundation of something radiant. The beauty that's emerging isn't borrowed, it's born from within you. This is what heaven meant when it promised restoration, not a return to the old, but the creation of something new and greater. You are not the same vessel that entered the fire. You are the fire's masterpiece. The glory revealed in you now isn't fragile, it's forged. It carries the texture of survival and the fragrance of grace. As written in the second book of Corinthians, chapter 3, verse 18, and we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into His image with ever-increasing glory. This transformation is not a single moment, it's an unfolding. Each breath you take now glows with purpose. Each word you speak releases healing. Heaven's fingerprints are visible in everything about you, your resilience, your mercy, your steady peace. There was once a woman named Kailia who lived through immense loss. She thought her story had ended in ashes. But slowly, light began to rise from her sorrow. She started to see that the fire had not stolen her, it had shaped her. One day, while helping someone else who was grieving, she realized she had become the very comfort she once begged for. That's when she understood. Glory doesn't appear with noise, it arrives through quiet transformation. Chosen one. That's where you are standing inside the quiet miracle. You no longer chase light, you emanate it. The world around you may still move in storms, but your spirit has become still water that reflects heaven clearly. This is the moment to walk gently, for your presence now carries weight. Every room you enter is subtly altered by your peace. You've become a living reminder that God still rebuilds, still restores, still redeems. And as this light begins to touch others, I want to speak softly about what keeps this flame alive. When you like, share, or subscribe, it's not a transaction, it's a continuation. It's like placing another candle beside yours, so the room grows brighter for someone still walking through the dark. And if this message has touched something inside you, take a quiet moment to leave a comment, just a few words that feel like breath. Every word written here is a pebble dropped into a still pond. Its ripples reach hearts you'll never meet. You see, this message isn't about one voice, it's about a chorus of souls lifting the same truth. The shaking was never the end. Each time you share, you help echo that truth further, carrying light into places where silence has lingered too long. And if your heart ever feels stirred to give, think of it as breathing life into a fire that warms unseen hearts. Not obligation offering, not duty devotion, like water poured on roots you may never see. Your kindness travels quietly, feeding hope in hidden soil. But even if all you give is presence, your time, your reflection, your open heart, that too is sacred. This space was never meant to demand, it was meant to invite. Every act of connection is a thread that weaves another soul into the tapestry of light. Because this journey isn't just mine or yours, it's ours. It's a living river flowing through every listener who dares to believe that pain can produce beauty. Together, we are proof that grace multiplies when it's shared. Chosen one, the glory that surrounds you now will draw others near. Not because you seek attention, but because light naturally gathers the lost. Walk humbly with that awareness. Let your compassion speak louder than your comfort. Let your story be the spark that ignites courage in someone else. You don't need to announce transformation, simply live it. People will see the glow and know. They'll sense heaven's fingerprint in your presence, feel peace in your words, and find hope through your example. And when you choose to extend that light through your sharing, your kindness, or even a quiet donation offered in gratitude, know that you are not supporting a message. You are sustaining a movement of healing. Each act, no matter how small, becomes a ripple that touches shores you may never reach. So as this section ends, pause for a moment. Feel the warmth of what has survived. Let the light resting on you now move freely through your life, spreading, multiplying, healing. Every spark you pass forward becomes proof that grace still grows in the ruins. You have not only endured, you have become the embodiment of endurance. The glory that once hid in ashes now radiates through you, quietly and endlessly. Chosen one. You've reached the calm after every storm, the quiet that does not demand, the peace that no longer trembles. The shaking has done its work. The fire has purified. And now your spirit walks in a rhythm that does not depend on circumstance. You have found what few ever find: elevated peace. This peace does not announce itself with sound. It arrives like dawn, soft, steady, undeniable. It's not the absence of challenge, but the presence of confidence. You no longer need to chase security because you have become it. Where others see uncertainty, you sense divine order moving invisibly beneath the surface. As spoken in the Gospel of John, chapter 16, verse 33, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." That verse is no longer theory to you, it's experience. You have seen trouble, yet peace remains. You have felt storms, yet your anchor holds. The peace you now carry is not borrowed, it's built. When everything collapsed around you, something unshakable awakened within you. That stillness was not weakness, it was worship. The ability to stay calm in chaos is not denial, it's dominion. Heaven has taught you how to walk through fire without smelling of smoke, how to sit in storms without losing your song. There was a man named Daron who once faced endless conflict. Everything he touched seemed to unravel. But one evening, as he sat in silence, he whispered, "I surrender." That single sentence became the doorway to peace. Nothing around him changed, but everything within him did. The war he had been fighting in his mind fell silent, replaced by a strength that felt like breathing light. From that night forward, he carried peace that no argument could disturb. That's what you carry now. Chosen one, this peace is your new foundation. It cannot be purchased, duplicated, or stolen. It's not the reward for escaping chaos. It's the revelation that God was with you inside it all along. Peace doesn't mean you've stopped caring. It means you've stopped controlling. You've learned that God's timing is not your delay, but your deliverance. You no longer feel the need to fix what He is still forming. You've discovered that trust is stronger than tension, You can walk through the same places that once drained you and remain undisturbed, because peace has become your posture. You are learning that power is not loud, it's composed. You are not easily provoked now, because peace has trained your emotions to obey your faith. This peace has layers. At first, it feels like still water, quiet, reflective, but underneath, it carries current strength, direction, momentum. It moves you forward gently, not with striving, but with surrender. You've entered the flow of divine ease, where effort turns into grace. Imagine a bird gliding on the wind. It doesn't flap frantically, it stretches its wings and lets the current carry it. That's how you now live, supported, sustained, secure. What once required struggle now unfolds naturally because you've aligned with heaven's pace. People may look at you and wonder how you remain calm when the world feels uncertain. They'll call it strength, but you'll know it's surrender. True peace is not learned, it's revealed when resistance ends. You used to pray for protection from storms. Now you thank God for the wind that taught you balance. You no longer interpret disruption as danger, but as divine rearrangement. This is wisdom, born from waiting. Power, born from patience. Chosen one. This peace is your inheritance, but it's also your influence. Everywhere you go, peace goes with you. When you speak, anxiety lowers its voice. When you stand still, others sense stability. You are a carrier of calm in a trembling world. Guard this peace. It is sacred currency. Do not trade it for arguments, hurry, or doubt. The world will try to buy it with distraction, but don't sell. Stay anchored in stillness. From this posture, clarity will always find you. Answers will rise without force. Provision will flow without panic. You will learn that peace attracts what pressure repels. Chosen one. This is the life heaven prepared for you, not a life without shaking, but one where shaking no longer shakes you. You've become the calm inside the storm, the still point between heaven and earth. Rest here. Breathe here. This peace is not temporary, it is eternal. You are now the silence after thunder, the steady echo of grace that remains when the noise fades. Peace no longer visits, it lives within you. Every breath you take whispers stability. You have become the stillness others seek. The proof that storms can end without destroying what they touch. Chosen one. The shaking has ended. The air feels cleaner. The horizon wider. The light softer than before. You can finally stand without trembling. Breathe without guarding. Hope without hesitation. The season that once bruised you has finished its holy work. What was shaken has settled, and what has settled will now stand forever. You are no longer the one who looked for signs of survival. You have become the sign itself. Every step you take now carries quiet power, the kind that does not demand attention, yet commands peace. This is the moment when heaven crowns you, not with gold that fades, but with glory that endures. You have passed through the quake, through the fire, through the silence, and you have emerged crowned with clarity, as written in the book of Revelation, chapter 3. Verse 11. Hold on to what you have, so that no one will take your crown. And one, that word rests on your spirit. Now, the crown is not a symbol of pride, but of proof that you endured, that you obeyed, that you trusted even when you couldn't see the path ahead. The trembling was never meant to steal your strength. It was meant to reveal it. You've learned that victory doesn't always look like noise or applause. Sometimes, it looks like standing quietly in the same place where you once fell apart, smiling without explanation. That smile isn't denial, it's dominion. It says, "I have seen the worst, and it could not take the best of me." No, there was a woman named Lyra who once thought her story ended in the dust. Everything she loved was broken, her future unclear. Yet one evening, as the sky turned gold, she realized that peace had replaced pain without her noticing. It wasn't sudden, it was slow, sacred, and sure. In that moment, she understood that the shaking hadn't destroyed her life, it had delivered her into it. That's what you're feeling now, the quiet triumph of having survived the process. You no longer flinch when the ground moves because you've learned that even earthquakes obey God. You've learned that His timing may shake your plans, but it never shakes His promise. Chosen one. The crown you wear isn't just for beauty, it's for burden. It means you've been entrusted with wisdom others still seek. You've become a guide for those who tremble, a light for those still wandering through darkness. The authority you now hold comes not from title or talent, but from testimony. Heaven has turned every scar into a script. Every wound has become a word. You don't have to preach, you simply have to live. Your existence now speaks volumes. Peace follows you, like a shadow. Strength walks beside you. Grace goes ahead of you, clearing paths unseen. The trembling world will look at you and wonder how you remain steady. They will see calm and call it luck, not realizing its legacy. Peace passed down from the shaking. You carry that legacy now. This is not the end of your journey. It's the beginning of a new way of walking. You no longer chase destiny, you carry it. You no longer pray for open doors. You are the open door. Wherever you go, heaven finds a place to dwell. Think of a mountain after the storm. The air is fresh. The rivers are clear. The soil is rich. That's your life now. The storm did not strip your roots, it strengthened them. You stand taller, not because you escaped the wind, but because you learned to bow in it without breaking. Chosen one. Heaven calls your name with reverence. You have become living proof that divine shaking always ends in divine elevation. The ground beneath you no longer threatens its supports. You can build again, dream again, love again, without fear that it will all fall apart. And as you move forward, walk gently but boldly. You are wearing unseen light. The crown upon your head is not metal, it is memory, mercy, and majesty intertwined. It was placed there by unseen hands, not for display, but for destiny. This peace you carry will guide others. The same grace that held you through shaking will now flow through you, touching lives that need what you've found. You will speak, and hearts will steady. You will smile, and fear will loosen its grip. Chosen one. The quake is over, but its echo remains not as destruction, but as rhythm. That rhythm is your new heartbeat, pulsing with gratitude and purpose. You are crowned, purified, and positioned. The ground beneath you is no longer unstable, it is sacred. You are standing exactly where heaven intended, clothed in strength, surrounded by calm, ready to begin again. Not as a survivor, but as a sovereign of peace. The shaking was your ascent. The silence was your instruction. The fire was your refining. And now, the crown is your confirmation. Chosen one. You've reached the final breath of this journey, the quiet after revelation, the soft glow after the storm. Everything that once shook you has now become sacred ground beneath your feet. You are not the same soul who began this path. You are steadier, wiser, and filled with light that does not flicker. This is your moment to pause, to look back with gratitude and forward with faith. The shaking was never punishment. It was preparation. Every word you've heard, every truth that stirred within you, was heaven shaping you into something unbreakable. And now, as you carry that peace into the world, remember, light is not meant to be kept. When you like, share, or subscribe, it's like lighting another lantern along this path, helping another traveler find their way through the dark. If something in these words reached deep into your spirit, leave a comment, a line, a phrase, a whisper of what moved you. Every word you write is a drop of oil that keeps this flame alive, for others still searching. And should your heart ever feel moved to give, see it as planting a seed in living soil. What you sow here becomes fruit in unseen gardens, feeding hearts, fueling hope, sustaining light. Nothing you give is lost. It grows quietly into grace. This space was never built on demand, but on devotion. Your presence alone is part of the miracle. Together, we've journeyed from trembling to triumph, from breaking to beauty, and the story doesn't end here. Carry this light with gentleness. Let it reach corners still waiting for dawn, because every time you pass the flame forward, heaven writes another chapter of hope through you.